Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Live. This is probably the final live stream of this very large 11 by 17 piece. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to stamp in here, and it's been going through my mind for the last, kind of stream and a half, I would say, as far as what kind of focal point I would have in here. And I was just kind of looking through my pile of stamps looking for a specific design, but I came across this one, this Moonlight Dreamers lady. Okay, now I would typically just stamp whatever I'm going to insert into the scene right over the top of things. And I was thinking about this stamp right here. I would have this lady rider kind of walking amongst the aspen. I would have her probably coming out from behind this one and in front of this one. Something like this I thought would look really good. But I came across this stamp right here, this reclining figure, and I thought, oh my gosh, that looks really good. Just in terms of I don't know, kind of the spirit of the piece, and I think it's a little bit closer to what I want in this setting here. It kind of makes it a little bit more intimate. The trees are smaller by relation, and I don't know, she has kind of a dreamy look around, about her, and she's also looking like right into the light, which I thought would be perfect here. So I don't know, there's a couple spots that I could put her. I could put her a little bit down here, closer to the water, like she's gazing into that. But I think right here would be really good, just with that streaming light coming in here. And it seems like she's just perfect for this setting here. So she's more of an open style of design. So I could have stamped her in there if I knew I was going to use it right from the beginning, but I think it's actually better here just to stamp her on a separate piece of paper like I did, and I colored her in and just to insert her in here. If I did it the other way around, where I stamped her first, I would really had to have worked a lot of media applications around her just so I don't, kind of get a bunch of dots or color in her that, that I didn't want. So, okay, so anyways, I've used many different kind of those skin tones on her. I still need to do some refinements on her, but I was adding some of this additional skin toned marker throughout. Okay, so this one's a really light one. So I have my main figure that's going to be used in here. All right, and so that's going to be a pretty strong focal point in here. So I want to create kind of more of a relationship between her and the environment. So I'm going to add this. This isn't really a base layer, but in a way it is, because it's very light, okay? And you can add lighter tones right over the top of your darker tones. It's not going to make your dark tones lighter, okay? But you can influence kind of their general color by adding an additional layer right over the top of what you've already laid down. Okay, so she's in here, and we're going to add more of this flesh tone on these trees. It's just kind of tinting it a little bit more of this kind of slightly warm, I don't know, kind of dusty rose color. I've used a bunch of different colors on her, and I need to create a little bit of shading on her as well, maybe with some colored pencil, because right now she's looking a little quite pale here. And I need to give her some color, but I'll work on that. So let's integrate her with the scene. Hello, Sandy. Glad you like it. It's been a fun scene to work on here. I've been adding a ton of layering in here and kind of depth for the sake of depth. But now that I have my kind of focal point here, I kind of have a little bit more of a kind of a targeted direction as far as what I want to do on some of these other areas in here. Okay, so one of the things I did on this piece before yesterday's live stream is I spray sealed it, okay? And I've added a lot more alcohol markers down, but what I've done between yesterday and today is I've sprayed it again with another workable fixative, okay? Or the same one, I've just given it another layer, so that when I'm laying down these colors over the top of other alcohol inks, it's not putting those alcohol inks back into solution and just dissolving on me. So I can get some layering and apply some of this tone or some additional tone with this alcohol pen, okay? All right, so anyway, there's some of these tones down here. And again, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit more of a, you know, this kind of light pink. It's not light pink in there, but it has this pinkish tinge to it, as opposed to like that's just white right there, but you can see that. So again, that kind of makes a little bit more of a relationship between those rocks and her, okay? I'm adding some of this down into my grass as well, making our figure kind of a little bit more kind of integrated as part of the scene. All right. I'm just kind of curious how far we can take layering with transparent colors by creating that kind of barrier in between the layers with the workable fixatives, the clear workable fixatives. I have to think that at some point in time it will potentially kind of muddy things up, but it doesn't. I don't know. I guess, just the number of layers that I've done so far, it's not, I don't think I'm really, kind of approaching that, whatever, that danger zone. By danger zone, it doesn't mean like, you're going to apply some color and go, oh my God, it, took it over the top or anything like that. Just, it might make it a little bit murkier or something like that, in one little area. And then if you add like 5 more colors, it's like, oh, maybe, maybe it's time to stop. It's not like anything's like changing like drastically with, one additional color, one additional layer. But you can see how deep kind of those trees are in terms of, the color scheme on here. You can see her, my little figure here, I've added like 5 layers of alcohol ink colors on her, but just by relation, you can see just how kind of anemic, she looks like a vampire right now or something like that. So I need to really kind of, I don't know, render her, with additional colors and such, because these trees are just, kind of overpowering in terms of, kind of color depth and richness. So, we need to do that on everything, especially when it's going to be the focal point of the scene with this figure here. So, all right. Okay, so having this figure in here, it's changed the perspective of this scene. If I stamp something really small or smaller, a small deer, well, actually this deer is fairly large, but if I stamp something really small, these trees could potentially look like redwoods or something like that, okay? I'm stamping, but having this figure right here, I'm saying if she was standing up right here, she's probably going to be like this tall, and like as tall as these trees right here, so it really changes the scale of these smaller trees. It makes it more intimate. Probably, I don't know, maybe some newer growth. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a fire ripped through this area in here. So I'm not going to stamp too many things that, are too large in here anymore. I think I was going to stamp a lot more imagery that's a little bit taller in here. But just by stamping her in there, I've changed my mind, and I'll go with, if I want to go for, some area objects that have a little bit of contrast, and kind of structure, like wooded types of things, I'm going to go for these more kind of like bush, skeletal bush type of like things, okay? Bush right here, winter brush, things like this, okay? And it's not that I want things like dead in here, but I want things to contrast against kind of these really vibrant, shimmering forms in here. Just because there's a lot of kind of redundancy in here with those, and multicolored dots. So I just need to provide some form in here, some more kind of defined types of things. Hello, Cynthia and Linda. How are things going? So I added this little figure she heard me talking about right here. I just thought, when I held the stamp up next to it, I thought, okay, that is like a perfect little thing. And I wanted my lighting coming in from this way. And on that sheet I have, those little figures kind of looking both ways. I even thought she looked really good down here, like right there, something like that. But I want her kind of in the light, like that. So I need to have her kind of sitting amongst that. So I need to add down some additional little highlighting and stuff like that after I adhere her in there. Okay, so let's get to some of these stamps. So I'm kind of curious if these things will even stamp out, or how they'll stamp out against the over the top of workable fixative. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so this was always like my go-to stamp in years past, especially for grassy areas like this. But this grassy area, I don't think needs it so much. I've kind of muddled up a lot of grassy areas in the past, and I've only used dye-based inks. But this one looks fairly defined in here, so I don't think I need too much of it. But it's always helped in the past to create a little bit of depth in there. So I'm going to try it here. And it's like a subtle, it's nothing too prominent. So we'll use that. We'll use these. I've often used this with autumn types of trees too. But now I don't want her. I was going to put one like right back in here, but now I don't want it like next to her. So I don't know. I might put something like around in here. I don't know. I mean, now I'm looking at it. Maybe I will have some of this, but coming in from the edge, or maybe not. I don't know. Let me work the smaller forms first and see how it looks. Waving back. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this winter brush is going to be behind some of these rocks and in front of some of those autumn styles of foliage. Okay, the stays on, it applies just fine over the top of the workable fixative. Okay, so you can, I don't know if you can see that there. Let's go with, I really feel like sneaking this leafless limbs in there, but let's see. Let's go with some of this first. Okay, this one should probably show up a little bit more than that first one, because the first one I did is kind of in the darkness over here, halfway in the darkness. Let's see if it shows up here pretty well. Yeah, you see that little branch, little wooded thing like that? It kind of grounds like all this, in that background. I won't do it over everywhere because it's a little bit overkill, but here. Okay, I overmasked there a little bit. Where's oh, okay, here's a black pen. I need to take this to the tree. All right, there we go. I'll kind of integrate these a little bit more too. I'm going to leave this pen out in case I need it again. I don't want these forms to go like, you know, over the top of this rock or something like that. Okay, so I'm being a little bit conservative and kind of leaving a little bit of space between this form and my rocks. At least in this scene. I normally don't do that, but I want to be a little bit more careful on this piece. You know, after all, this is like video, I don't know, whatever, 15 of the creation of this. All right, this is working out pretty good, but I don't want to go too much with it. I don't want this whole, you know, to look like a bunch of like spiky kind of forms everywhere. Actually, maybe I will use that. The reeds in here. Let's go with one more here. Okay, that one's stamped out a little bit lighter up there. All right, so we're getting a little bit, let's get her out of the way. See these right here? That type of thing. And here we go across right here. It's kind of, we're oscillating things texturally too. I don't want it like everywhere in here, so it's right here, here. Okay, let's try some of the, where'd the this brush go? Okay. Okay, that looks better. I used to use this all the time. I should use it more, because that really is helping here. All right, I don't want anything too spiky around her, though. Let me see. All right, so I've put it like down here. See this right here and here? See, it creates a little bit of a separation between this area and this area. So it kind of pushes depth a little bit more. And let's go right here too. It kind of creates these mounds like this. Okay, let's like uneven terrain, where without it, it's a little bit more even and flat. I mean, which, you know, I don't want it, it's not supposed to be like gigantic dips or anything like that, but it just creates a little bit more space, you know, between these areas like that. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm going a little bit crazy with this one, but I'm able to use just a real small portion of it for pushing that depth in there. About like so. And the white pigment is going to go over the top of it too, so it's going to make it a little bit softer looking. I know, yeah, Linda, isn't that it? You know, it kind of, we put that person in there, and it changes the spirit of it. You know, I think, you know, I mean, it's a woman, but I can see myself sitting amongst that area in there by putting them in like that. You know, it kind of makes it a dreamy kind of mood or something like that. And I can't wait to use some of the white pigment ink. I'm debating on whether or not to use you know, some light beams. I mean, I can already see this rippled kind of surface right here. It's kind of giving me the kind of a little idea on what some, you know, crepuscular rays could look like, you know, kind of streaming through, even if it's really subtle. I wouldn't do it over, like, all of these, like, beam, 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 you know. But if you had just, like, some beams coming through here, I think it could be a really, I don't know, kind of a mystical, you know, setting or moment here. For the individual and us as viewers here, you know, like I always say, it's kind of transportive to, you know, look into a scene that we're creating. All right, so let's see. Let's go to that fish. You know, so Adelita was mentioning the fish. I think I want some of this fish. I'm talking about Froggy Fresh. So let's see. I want this. Okay, so I want this fish to be really subtle at this point in time. I don't want it to stand out like at all or much. You know, I want to be able to see it, of course. But let me. I think this is going to be like way too invisible. If it's like completely invisible, then we can always go darker. But that's better than kind of making something too dark and then not being able to, you know, do anything about it. So, I mean, blue might be a possibility in here too, as far as these impressions go. I should probably do it in a couple different impression colors, you know, just for a little bit of variation. Well, let's give it a shot here. Okay, see that? The spray sealant, this is water-based, and it didn't stick at all, okay? So, it didn't... I saw a little bit of impression, but I just wiped it off, and it came clean off, so... we're gonna have to go to Stays On, boy. Okay. Let's see about this. 1 impression and 2. Okay. So go with 1 impression first, and then... 2. I can't kind of position it for too long. I gotta have it straight. Okay, so 1 and 2. Second impression down here. See, there's like a fish right here and a fish right here. And let's go in with another one like right in here. So it's just kind of camouflage. It's gonna be camouflaged with the rocks in here. Okay, that's kind of what I want. Let's go with a little bit of a darker impression. So let's do it like that and go like this. All right, so kind of dark right there. But again, I'm going to have my branches or leaves going across that in black as well. So that'll be kind of a little bit more camouflaged within that space. All right, so if anyone's just joined in, I'm going to add this figure in here, probably. I mean, I can still change it. I thought this little figure like this could have looked cool, too. Now, if I did this one, I would have just stamped them directly in here. The only thing is I would have a lot of that color kind of showing through that open area right there. But I could have just colored that in with something else and made it a little bit of a stronger silhouette. But this figure was just too perfect. It's like kind of lounging in here, and it's also looking like right up in that light, you know. And the direction of this piece is like this anyway. So, I mean, she's really reiterating it like that. And it kind of, I don't know, it's one of those transportive things. Like I said, it's, you know, it would be cool sitting in that scene like that. Writing through it would be cool too, you know. And I thought about animals, and those would work too. But this one, I think, I don't know, it puts us as a viewer into the scene, kind of into the scene a little bit more, having that figure like that. All right, so let me see. Okay, so I wasn't going to use this one before when I thought these trees are going to represent something a lot taller and these trees as well, almost like sequoias practically. But I thought this would look really good down here, so I'm entering it back into the mix. Yeah, as far as something that can be used in here. Oh, so that being said, I can use the larger one down here too, maybe. Okay. So we're going to make it look a little bit more full. All right. I'm stamping right here. I think I'm stamping on a ledge. I've got all these papers. I don't have like too many 11 by 17s underneath there. Here. Okay, there we go. So I'm kind of layering this down here. I'm going to stamp it about 1 inch higher, masked off like that. Then I'll come down here and I'll mask off this rock and put some additional grasses behind this one. And I'm doing it at different heights and angles. All right. So that kind of anchors the tree a little bit more into place. Let's see. Like that. And then we need to do that in other areas as well. If we're going to put it, you know, at the base of one tree like that. I know it's hard to see in this video right here because I'm stamping kind of dark into dark. I'm usually doing this with dye-based ink, so this stays on. It's really drying on me. I'm hoping it's not making my pad super dry. It feels like it almost is. Okay. All right. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't. But there's a bunch of it, right? Let me see if I can show you that. No, I can't even show you at an angle. I thought the stays on might be a little bit... you can kind of see it like that. It's almost like a reverse, you know, grass texture like that. I don't know why it's kind of reflecting like that. But it's anchoring my trees a little bit more. And I'll put some right over here behind this rock and in front of this tree. You're not gonna be able to see it like that at all. This is really dark. Okay, I was thinking about using the large reeds, but I'll keep the larger reeds for the foreground. Okay. All right. I don't want to put it around this tree, but that's, you know, she's sitting there, so let's get some of our foreground in here. You ruined your big scene using that bush stamp, inking it in cherry deep red stays on. Huh. What did it do? I'm in the process of trying to tone it down. Maybe try the black right over, intersperse it. Don't try to cover up exactly on the same impressions, but I would just have it around it, in the area. Or you might be able to tint your stays on a little bit. The red. The red sounds like a good idea, but I don't know how bright it is, but you might be able to take like a stays on ink, like a black or something like that, and just put it on a little paper towel or something like that, and just run it over there a little bit. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know. Maybe not with the stays on ink, but maybe more like a VersaFine Clair or something like that. I guess if you try to do it with stays on, it's just going to dry on the paper towel, like before you even start applying it. But you might be able to tint your imagery. Okay, so I'm looking for where's my reed stamp? I usually have that right on my table. All right. I think having the pad open for too long is kind of drying out my pad really fast. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, I'm stamping on a completely uneven surface here. That's totally not recommended. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's kind of filling in those little gaps there a little bit. It kind of softens your, you kind of these really hard lines too. It just breaks it up from being, that size. Not that you try to do that with everything, but overall this scene, it's kind of about that soft shimmering kind of area in there. I know that all these are really hard, kind of linear things in there, but that contrasts against those types of things to make those things look even softer and more shimmery. But I don't want too many of those hard angles, like everywhere in the scene. All right. It's tough working on a bigger piece like this when your table is like absolutely cluttered. If you can see 6 inches beyond this camera, I've zoomed out about as much as I can, but it's like I've got all these media encroaching on the working space here. Okay, so I need let me see if I can find my leaves. Yeah, I can't even find everything. I need this stamp right here so I can stamp it right over the top in black. And okay, so I might be able to use the stamp that I'm going to use at the bottom here on the top, which I wasn't going to do because I thought those trees would represent something a lot bigger and taller, but putting that kind of that smaller figure in there, or the larger figure, I guess, that stamp has opened up the the possibilities for other designs. And I didn't want to have like some like leaves kind of up here around this, because if these things represented something that were like, I don't know, like 20 feet up to here or something like that, I wouldn't have this canopy coming down like that, but we'll see. All right, where did that? So I'm looking through like a pile of stamps like this. All right, here it is. Now this is the smaller version. I use the Art Foamies leaf stamp right in here, but I can't use StazOn on that foam style of stamp. I think it would just dry on that surface of the stamp and absorb into it before I even got the chance to make an impression with it. So I'm going with the smaller rubber version. And these are Art Foamies, by the way, if you don't know. They're Art Foamies, whatever, Stampscapes imagery. Sold at artfoamies.com. Not on the Stampscapes site. All right. Okay, so I'm going to layer these leaves with these, paint pen embellished versions of the Art Foamies impressions. And on the Art Foamies, if you haven't watched this series being created here, I used, I don't know, like greens, oranges, and yellows on these leaves right here. And this is the Art Foamies kind of size version right here. So this is like this here and right over here. And I've kind of gone right over the top of those impressions with the paint pens. So the darker version's right over the top like this. It's kind of giving a little bit more structure to what was kind of lost with the paint pen usage, okay? Because everything's like, like a dot now down there. So I'm just kind of adding this back into it. It's kind of going like this too. The rocks are kind of darker, and then we have these leaves in here, so you're going kind of dark, light, dark in here. And darker things in the foreground kind of help to frame things off, so it's kind of nice to have something dark in addition to something kind of lighter in here. Okay, so that is like that. I used a lot, that really covered that up. I might add a little bit more foreground in there with the pens, but that darker one served its kind of purpose like that. It gives it a little bit more visual weight down here too, having something darker, I think. Hello, Cecile. Yeah, it kind of changed the spirit of it, didn't it, Cecile? Hello, Tammy. Thanks so much, Phyllis. Good to see ya. Hello, Laura. The lady is going to be like right here. She's going to be like basking in the that autumn light. I was saying when I first started this video, I think it was, I normally would incorporate this in. If I knew I was going to use her in here, I probably would have stamped her into the scene, but having, not done it and just did this little cutout, I think it kind of works even better. Because I would have had to work all these different colors and everything like that, the paint pen, all that stuff. I would have had been working around her, was just, this image right here is, it's an easy cutout. So, You know, I think she'll incorporate in here very nicely. I'll just glue her down, and I'm going to put some of those other kind of shimmering little highlights in front of her, like where she's sitting in the grass a little bit more. So I think that'll work out just fine. But yeah, I thought she worked out pretty good in terms of, like, I don't know, like an afterthought practically. All right, let's see. Okay, so that black down here, it covered it up really good, but let's get a little bit more of this brightness kind of incorporated back into some of this area. We'll get some of those other impressions kind of, I don't know, behind some of the lighter one too. So it's like, I don't know, I guess we're adding an extra little sandwich layer of imagery in here and form. Okay, so right here you can see that leaf structure right in there. Okay, so I'm just going to have some of these leaves in front of that one because it was a little bit too harsh, you know, after I did it. So we'll have some of this kind of coming out of, you know, the colored leaves. And same thing for all these different little textural things that we've added in here. This brighter yellow, I think, is going to stand out over the top of the spray sealant coats in here as well. All right, let me get a little bit more gutsy too. I have these little aspen leaves kind of floating in the water. It's a really small little dot though, or leaf, and they're not very bright. So let me incorporate some larger ones amongst those smaller, darker ones. I think it needs a little bit more kind of excitement kind of in there. I don't know, maybe that's too big. I'll just use some smaller ones around it, you know, to taper it off. Okay. You like it without the leaves hanging down? Well, I like yours with the leaves hanging down, though. Did you like it on yours? See, I might still have some light coming through. Yeah, so I might not obscure it. Okay, this is a little bit of green here. All right, so I started adding some of this into my oranges and yellows yesterday, and I thought, I really needed to add more of that. So this is a little bit of a different tone of green. I think I added some of this yesterday, something like this. All right, maybe it's a little bit lighter like that one. So this one's a little bit more, I don't know, kind of yellowish green, I guess. The other one was too, but this one's a little bit lighter. So I need a different hue in here. You know what I mean? This is a lot of redundant kind of, you know, texturing in here of, you know, a given hue, you know, the oranges and reds, reddish orange, whatever. And I just needed a little bit of difference right here. So I guess, I don't know, I guess, you know, one of the things is today is it's like adding in those little kind of subtle details. that you probably can't even see what I'm doing, you know? I don't know, down here you could, but like those little grassy textures in here, it anchors down things a little bit more. And I don't know, for me it really finishes off a lot of those different areas. Or objects too. And again, you know, I'm not spending like this amount of time on something, you know, if it's a really small, you know, quarter page card, standard card size, but on this one, you know, just because there's so much area in here for whatever object or area, you know, it's going to stand out a little bit more. I don't know if you can see that greenish tinge kind of, you know, in these areas now. Like aspen, you know, aspen trees have in the fall. Not all of them, but, you know, they still, a grove will have, you know, there's multiple tones. Okay. Let me see something here. I want to mute that area out. Talking about muting things out, huh, Linda? Let's see. So I'm going to go over some of these with my alcohol pen. Yeah, there we go. You can color your little dots. So I have the size of it, but I'm just kind of muting it out with a little bit of blue here. If it stood out like too much. So I just kind of darkened it in like that. So yeah, maybe that's a little bit too much, like right in there. So I'm just going to go over it like that and take care of that right there. All right. Okay. Just bring in a little bit of light in these areas. It's a little bit crazy, you know, a little bit nuts in terms of the texturing. But again, I'm going to bring in the white pigment ink here real shortly here, and introduced that different texture in here, and we'll mellow some of this out. So we're going a little bit more extreme, knowing that, you know, another element is going to come in here that's going to obscure some of the, you know, the work that we've done here. It's going to obscure it, but hopefully in kind of covering up some areas, okay, with it, it makes the other areas a little bit more kind of, it heightens the whatever qualities you're going for in other areas if you obscure a little bit of it. So you give a little bit of softness here and, you know, less shimmer, then the other areas next to it will seem a little bit more shimmery by contrast. Hopefully. I mean, it's always, you know, that's always kind of the idea, is kind of playing contrasts against one another. So you don't always have to make something, say, darker, you know, or lighter. You can always just, if you want to make something look lighter, you can just make something darker next to it. You don't have to physically or optically make something, you know, lighter. Or physically, I guess. Okay. I'm wondering if I should add anything else in here of, you know, kind of significance, like down in this water. Here's some of this green on some of these areas down below here. Some of the I've been using some of the colors that I haven't used too much of on previous scenes, and I'm using quite a bit on this one. I think some of that orange needs to be down in here. It's yeah, let's see. Was it this one? Linda ordered her art foamies. Freight not that bad. Oh, maybe they need, maybe they're utilizing that kind of new shipping method. Like I said, it's called simple. What's it called? Simple export or something like that. I was really surprised. I shipped an order to oh, where was it? I think it was Australia or New Zealand. I think it was Australia. And using that kind of new methodology. And it was kind of weird because you don't address the package to the individual. It was you ship it to like this like a export, I don't know, whatever hub for US mail, and it didn't even have the person's name on it. It's like when I printed the label, it's like, wait a minute, it doesn't even have the person's label, but or name. But I guess, you know, they'll know where it's supposed to be going after that initial destination, just based on the tracking number. So, you know, it's all, when they track that, they'll get it in and scan it, and then they'll print out the new label for the new, you know, destination, I guess, unless it's just going to another hub at the destination country, and then it gets the person's name on it. But all that being said, I shipped on that simple export, and I don't know, it was like half, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I don't even know if it was half. It might have been a third of the price of like priority mail, you know, which was kind of the way to do it for most shipments. Oh, you know, over the years, you know, over a certain weight, that is. Like I said, those art foamies are really, you know, they're really lightweight. I mean, it would take a lot of art foamies to get it, you know, up over that 4-pound weight limit with that kind of bargain, whatever shipping method. But yeah, Laura, you know, we were talking about that with a pirate ship. Pirate Ship's the name of this website that you can, they kind of, you can utilize them for U.S. mail and UPS shipping. Not that everyone wants to know this, but I don't know, like individuals can use it too if you know, you find yourself shipping anywhere. But they get like contracted rates. If you ship over a certain amount of things, you know, like for example with UPS, you get a, you know, a certain contracted rate. But I think that like this whole website that ships everywhere, you know, they ship so much that we're getting their contracted rate, and they're just charging a little bit over their cost. So, you know, we can reduce the price when we're shipping because we're using that site, which is awesome. Okay, so here's some of that orange right here in the foreground. So that's kind of incorporated that in with the background a little bit more. And I think that is it there. Let me see how she's looking in here. I was mentioning earlier, if you just logged on, she looks really anemic. I've used like I don't know. I've used many of these different skin tone markers on her, and I'm going to continue to kind of render her to make her look, incorporated in with this lighting. So she needs to be kind of like darker, like in, partly in the shadows. I need to anchor, her down with a little bit of shading in here. But let's go in and let's start bringing in some of those other kind of textures in here. And this is one of my favorite things to do in here. I'm still wondering about those light beams in here. I don't know if I want to do it or not, but let's just see what this looks like with some of this kind of mistier kind of diffusion that is really fun to add into pieces. We were talking about doing a workshop. I still need to do that. Where we utilize, white pigment ink over the tops of scenes. So one of the first things I want to have like a live workshop sometime, like a Zoom workshop or something like that. And one of the things is I was going to have someone, whoever wants to join in can join in, but I was going to have them, people that want to kind of refine or work on or kind of even learn how to do this right here. I was going to have them do just any type of scene, or something like that. And one of the things that I was going to say is just do like a lighting scheme or something like that, meaning just, it doesn't matter what composition they're doing, but just as long as you retain some of the light of the paper, the white of the paper in areas like even like that little bit right in there, or that and right here, because that's where you kind of start adding some of this pigment ink into those areas, because if you retain some of that light, you're saying that the light is kind of hitting that area in there. So in this case, up in the sky right in here, it's still a little bit white. So when I'm adding white pigment ink, it represents kind of this moisture in the air that's getting illuminated with that light. Okay, so in other words, you can't have like this all like dark in here, you know what I mean, and then add this as a representation of light, unless you, I don't know, unless this is like a nighttime scene and we add a moon up here or something like that, then you have your kind of light source in there. And this, yeah, and then we'll just talk about adding this. But the biggest thing is that people do on this one, I talk about it all the time, but and I totally understand it too, is when they ink up their applicator like this, it's just like a super kind of, wet infusion of ink into their cotton ball. Okay, my pad's really dry right here, but even if you are working with, a really wet pad, you just kind of dab in there a couple times like this, and then dab off a lot of it. You can see where I've always shown my examples right here. Like right here, see, that's my white right there. And it's like this little kind of foggy kind of diffusion right here. It's not like that right there. See what I mean? So it's, most of the times people are doing this and they're going blob, 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 a big, thick application of white paint. But what you want is that, Okay, so it looks like fog. So this is like, like a blob of it. Okay, now, when I did that, I kind of worked some of it off. So if you have too much on your cotton ball, you just dab it off like that. And then you get it to the consistency where even after like 10 dabs or something like that, it barely shows, okay? Because that's what you want. You want this to be, kind of like softer mist, okay? So you start doing this and you add it into your areas that are light like that. So you're adding white into light, okay? And that's not really going to show up, but it's when you start moving it into your areas that are a little bit darker, or, darker than white, like that. And see, I'm trying to, I'm not just going like this and stopping, okay? I want to create this transition of, light to less light, okay? So it's, in other words, it's thicker, and then you work it to thin, so you get this transitioning. See how that glow's like happening right there? Okay, And I want to kind of transition that a little bit like this, so I'm kind of working it down like this. Okay. And then we have it coming across that tree like that, so like this tree right here even looks a little bit closer to us now than this one does. It kind of pushes that tree a little bit back. And we can do that same thing with these background trees in here. They kind of merge a little bit optically with these foreground ones, so we'll just kind of push them back a little bit more through kind of light and texture. And if you ever had too much, like, oh my god, I made it too white, you just take it off like that, you know, because this ink isn't going to dry on us like so fast. It is a fast drying pigment ink, but that's relatively speaking, you know. There's still plenty of time to remove what's been applied. Don't wait too long, you know. It's like really hot right now in the summertime and stuff, and drier, but you know, while you're working on it right here, it's no problem to, you know, tweak it, you know, around and remove what's been applied. Okay, so this is light over here, so I'm bringing in this fog over this way, like this. You see this right here? I just kind of keep working with it. I don't try to get it like in one, you know, pass, okay? You just kind of keep altering it a little bit like this. If you want to mask off a little bit and, you know, add it behind that, you can. But see that light kind of coming in like that? We'll put it right in the back of that tree, right back in here. It's so like in a live workshop, if everyone is having problems with it, what I'll have them do is like, all right, show me, you know, put 10 taps of ink down on your, you know, black paper and hold it up so you can, you know, I can see it. I don't know, some people didn't want to do that. They said, hey, do I have to have my camera on? You know, if we're in a live thing. And I guess you don't, but I wouldn't be able to see, you know, see what you're doing. I don't know, are you need to have your hands in there if you know. All right, so anyways, see that right in the back there? So do you see those kind of softer kind of things? It looks like it's glowing a little bit more. So you have glowing light now, you know, instead of just, you know, I don't know, maybe a crisper light. So it's kind of like you have contrasting lights in here now. That looks totally different to me for some reason now. I don't know why. Having this kind of glowing thing in here, I don't know, for some reason it looks darker in here to me. Let's put a little bit of mist like back in here. It already looks kind of misty. I don't know why. I didn't add any back there. It already looks kind of misty, so I'm just kind of reiterating that softness right back in here just a little bit more, make that tree kind of glow a little bit more. I don't know, maybe it's glowing too much. It's a little bit too light. I don't want like this to be like a, you know, point of like attention over here. The attention area should be like right back in here. I don't know, maybe that makes that area a little bit more interesting though, you know. Like that. Okay, so let's add it down. Let's do that masking off here. Around some of these rocks right here. I can have it in front of the rock too, but let's do it behind the rock because it seems like it's already kind of happening in there. That's not white pigmenting, that's just where I left kind of a lighter area, you know, when I was doing my color applications. So let's just kind of go with kind of whatever, you know, seemed to have happened, you know, whatever naturally. Okay, see that right in there? So I'm just kind of expanding on it. I think it would look really good at the base of this tree here. Oh, one of the things I forgot to do is the branches in these aspen trees with a white paint pen. Okay, so I'm kind of coming over in here. All right, before I get too much to this, one of the things, if I don't do this right now, when I start kind of bringing in some of these branches into these aspen trees, this pigmenting goes up into my paint pen, so I better get some of this on here right now. Need some floating orange leaves, maybe. Yeah, that's a good idea, Laura. How many, though? Hello, Paper Genius. I might get nabbed at the border. Okay, if they sent it via that... what it was called, I don't know, maybe Laura knows. Simple export or something like that. There's no... Well, it depends what they've declared, too, but there won't be any brokerage. I mean, I don't know how they shipped, okay? But that other method, there's no brokerage fees, which is really good. Which UPS is. Okay, so I'm coming up here. And I'm just kind of faking it. I can't see the branches that are in the design. Maybe I should reference the design. Okay, so see this like trunk that goes up in here, and it goes up like that a little bit, you know, amongst the leaves. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just kind of faking it though, because I really can't see it, but I'm gonna have some of these. Yeah, I can kind of see the trunk here, I think. I'm doing this upside down because it's easier to do like a little stroke like that than it is like going up. You know, that's not like a natural kind of movement. All right, let me see what I've been doing here. Okay. Okay, I don't know if you can see it in there, but see those little, kind of that trunk-like structure in here now? You know, before it was just all leaves, okay? Now this is a little bit too much, so I layer over it again with a little bit more leaves, okay? But it really helps kind of the structuring of those forms in there. I don't think I want to do it in the foreground right here. I think just in the background like that. All right, let's see. Down at the bottom left-hand corner, pirate ships puts the name and number. Do they do that? I didn't see it at all. Huh. That's with the simple export? Hello, Froggy Fresh. Okay, here's your leaves. Orange leaves right in here. I'm not gonna put too much. Let's go like that. All right. It's very subtle. Okay, now I'm gonna go over some of these tree trunks. I'm gonna do that with the yellow though. Okay. All right, that is that. All right, where were we? White ink. All right. So for Rocky Fresh, this figure is going to go within the scene like that. She's going to get a little bit more incorporated in, but I'm adding this kind of misty, whatever, wonder of the piece here. This is kind of where kind of that, I don't know, that atmospheric quality is comes into the scene, I feel. All right, yeah, let's go over the top of that rock right there. Okay, now, like I said, I don't want like this everywhere, so it's like, I don't know, what seems like this whole, my whole point about a lot of this scene or whatever lesson video has been about is kind of oscillating everything like that. So from a textural standpoint, this is a very soft looking additive texturing that we're doing. It's also adding illumination into these areas. Okay, so you're kind of oscillating, in this case, soft and crisp against, whatever, crisp and darker, I guess. We have these areas down here in the water as well. Let's see. Let's add some of this right down in here. Now, this is a really dark area. Okay, so I've been starting off with my light areas and working into the darker areas, but so I'm going to add just a really light version of this right over here because there's not a lot of light in there. So it stands to reason we wouldn't have this thing kind of, area in the shadows that's really glowing too much, but you can add some of it. Like, see, like that right in there. See that little diffusion like that? Just to get some of that softness in there. Otherwise, it's kind of like, all these areas of shadow are a little bit, I don't know, like this whole area in here is a little bit, I wouldn't call it redundant, but with this being such a large, scene, this is like a pretty big space right here. So it's good to get a little bit of, variation in there. It doesn't need it, but yeah, I think it looks pretty good like that. All right, so see that right there. All right, and let's see. Let's come around this. Let's come around with down here with some of this as well. So that kind of puts this, this trunk right here. It's like lighting is kind of wrapping around it. I'll put some of this on that trunk right there too, like that. Sometimes too, if I'm putting light up there, maybe I might be able to put some shadow underneath here, where those leaves might be casting a little bit of a shadow. All right, let me take a look at her. She might be in a little bit of a mist as well, but I'll do that after I glue her down. I don't want to put it like right now. Oh, by the way, I gave her that purple dress to go against, these orange-colored trees in there. Like so. All right, let's see what we can do down here in the water too. Um, I went kind of dark up against this area right in here, so I'm wondering about this, but I think it could work. I know I just said, you kind of put it in the lights or something like that, but here I'm showing you kind of some examples of how you use it in the darker areas. You just don't use it, like to that degree, when it's like really light. I guess you could do certain types of things like that, if you want to make it look like a movie set or something like that, where they have like colored gels or something like that on, certain areas to emphasize things, like a staging or something like that. But I don't know, when you start off, you kind of put it in the light, to define, illuminated areas that are already within here. Okay, so let's try it here. Let's put it around in this water. I'll work it out from this illumination right here. I'll put it across some of these leaves and some of these rocks in here. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that rock right now where it's becoming much lighter than that one? It was like that dark right there, but now I'm just kind of putting that right over the top of it. It varies it a little bit more too. I guess with some of these rocks that I've placed in here too, I don't know, some of them got a little bit darker than I probably would have preferred them, so this is just a way you can kind of lighten them back up again. Or lighten them up. Not again, but... When I shipped to Canada, or did I ship by a simple ship? It might have had their name on it, but when I shipped to Australia, I don't think it did. I might be mistaken, because I was looking at that label kind of confused, like how are they going to know, I've only done it once there. But the thing that I was surprised is that it seemed to get there just as fast as Priority does. At least that one time. Okay, so I'm adding some of this across some of these leaves right in here too, which I think is cool. I almost can't even see anything happening right here. It's almost like it's not applying it right in here. Maybe it's because it's so light anyway. Okay, let's add a little bit more. Let's go over here. There's so much of that mist happening right in there. I don't know if I want to... Maybe I don't want to do too much in here. Because I think that contrast against there looks okay. I think if I put fog like everywhere, it might be kind of overkill. I'm going to put it over the fish. Hey, Froggy Fresh, there's your fish right in here. There's 1, 2, 3 right there. Okay, now this rock right here got a little bit darker than what I wanted when I stamped it out. I didn't take off enough ink. I didn't stamp off enough ink, so I'm just going in here and we'll just mute some of it. Or I'll give it a little bit more variation, maybe. I think that looks pretty good, too, like that. It's just a little bit more of a varied tone rock. It's a little bit lighter, darker, lighter, like that. Alright, I changed my mind. I am adding some of this right back in here. It's almost adding slower than what I usually want, but it's probably serving its purpose well because I'm not... It's keeping me from adding too much at any given time. And if you do add too much, you just wipe it off, like I said. But yeah, that looks a little bit better than there, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah, they do. These big trees do cover a lot of space, Linda. Yeah, the more you do with the more we cover with imagery, you know, the less. Um, well, I guess not all the time. I guess, you know, sometimes we stamp the imagery, we got to color it all in. But in this case, you know, I know it saves a lot of time from smaller, you know, impressions that we're going to have to color anyways. But this one went pretty fast. Consider, you know, relatively speaking. Okay, I'm adding a little bit more there. All right. All right, so we're going soft, you know, sharp, soft, sharp. I'm not going to touch this area over here. Let's see. Let's bring a little bit right here. So see this rock right here where it goes into this rock? Let's see what this looks like right here. If I just kind of tone this one down a little bit right here. It might create a little bit of separation between this one and this one, you know, and make it a little, you know, a touch more distant. You know, when I say a touch more distant, maybe it's like a half a foot or something like that, but I don't know, it just kind of changes this a little bit from, you know, right over here, like that space, I think. There's a lot of similar textures and, you know, across these different areas like that. So I'm just trying to change it a little bit. Like all these rocks are nice and crisp and whatever. They're, you know, they're colored the same way basically. You know, the shading's darker on the, you know, the primers, but just doing this, it just changes the textures a little bit, you know, from kind of monotony, I guess. I mean, I think it looked fine as is too, but I don't know, it's just those little, like I said, it's those little refinements like that that can be really fun to do. All right, let's put this tree right here on the left-hand side. Let's make it a little bit lighter, like it's in the light. Just because it's in the light, you know, next to, you know, like the lightest area of the scene right here, so it'll kind of help like turn it in space, as they used to say in art classes. When you turn something in space, you're making it look more like volumes, okay? It's not actually turning, but it looks more rounded like that because of the lighting that's on it. You know, it's varied lighting. It's a little bit light, darker, lighter, like that. All right. Let's put a little bit more on this side. On this tree right here, the lighting is coming from the right. On this tree right here, it's coming from the left. That's, you know, it's not that it's like inherently in here. I'm just kind of directing the light right now too. So the lighting is just wherever you say it's coming from, you know, or whatever you know, you want it depict. All right, it's the same thing on this side of the tree right here. Like that. Let's see. All right. I feel like I should be adding more in here. I think that looks really good right in here. There's kind of a pretty bold application of that white right in here. I think this really helped around here. I'm wondering about this space right in here. I got cotton ball underneath my fingernail. This space right in here. I like this shadow back in here, but if I could put a little bit of mist right in between these two trees, it would separate them a little bit more. Let's do it. Let's just do a really light version here. I'm just using whatever's left on here. It's kind of dry, like that. See that right there? So see, I think that that little glow, maybe that's a little bit too much here. I'll wipe some of it off like that. I think that created a little bit of a space in between those trees. Let me see something. Had a little bit too much. Let's go like this with the alcohol pen. Yeah, just something like that, I think. That little bit, like right down there. Because I didn't want this tree to look like it was like, you know, one, I don't know, whatever, split trunk or something like that going up like that. So, I mean, I don't know if it did look like it, but it's even less so now. A tree struck by lightning, that would be interesting. And that's what the guy in The Natural made his baseball bat from. Yeah, you probably could. I don't know. I've seen like knots in this tree before. Someone did like a little area in there, like a cubby hole or something like that before, which is really cool. Like a split tree. I've seen trees that were struck by lightning in the past. A lot of times. I don't know. I'd have to take a look at that. These would be the ones to do that from, though, huh? These larger art foamies. I haven't really tried it with my rubber ones, but definitely these larger ones, we can probably do some sort of thing where you color it a certain way, you know, and just leave the rest of it off. So like you can go like this, color it up like that, or whatever. Make it real jagged looking, and then, you know, color it around here like a, you know, real kind of burnt tones or something like that, you know. That'd be kind of interesting. I don't know, you know, I don't know how we would do it if it was like split by lightning, though. I don't know, someone here can do it. Actually, we did, you know, that renewal kind of theme piece. I don't know, Linda, you did that, huh? That whole sequencing of that renewal where it looks like that, you know, like a forest fire went through. I did like one piece, and then I thought it was Linda that did like a whole like series based on that kind of idea. But I don't know, there was one of that. Did you have like something like embers glowing in the back? I don't know. I'm trying to remember that sequence of scenes that was done. Okay, let's see here. Red hot tree on fire. I don't know. Maybe we'll try that here. That'd be a good theme for like a Halloween scene or something like that. Not that it's like a Halloween theme or anything like that, but that's coming up, so it'd be kind of cool to have something like that in there. Like a whole forest like that. I'm thinking, okay, so I'm thinking about like this. If you did something like that, it'd be kind of cool. I don't have that piece right here, but that holographic red foil might be kind of interesting to do something like that on there. Did I say hi to Jen? Hello, Jen, if I didn't say hi. Hi to everyone else that's on, by the way, or join in on these live streams. Let's see. There's those fish in there. Yeah. You can drop a line in there. I don't know what they're biting. They're biting on grubs. Do you have a little boy flying a kite stamp? No, but someone did that using... They used some stamp and they attached a kite to it, I think. Or am I thinking about this one that my mom did? Flying this kite. I can't remember now. I thought someone just did that. I don't know. I thought someone used a different stamp and they attached a kite to it. Night kiting. Oh, that's cool. You should lightning stamp on a tree. Oh, right. That sounds like a good theme there, or scenario, a dramatic one. Adding the fire red to the foamy, that a trio of trees. I think that could be done. I'm trying to think of some type of... And what color would you have in the background, I wonder? You know, I think something like that would be really cool at night especially. But it's like, how, you know, that's been one of my questions, is how do you do the, you know, the light, like a colored dark light against a night background or something like that. And I don't know, to me, I'm just thinking about that holographic red foil. It just seems like that would be a perfect type of thing to add in there. It would just give us a really big head start in terms of the entire process. All right, so I think I'm gonna add this figure in here now. I thought about rendering her out further, but I think I'm gonna put her in here. All right, so if you just joined in, this little figure right here is the one that I decided to use on here. I was thinking about using some other types of things. I even thought about wolves running through this scene, but I thought when I came across this one right here, she looked just too perfect for this scene. Kind of leaning up against these, you know, these trees right here and kind of enjoying this little area. She stands out a little bit too much right now, so I need to integrate her into the surroundings. So I guess I'll glue her down right now. I think just, I don't know. I wasn't quite sure where to put her at first, but I thought, this is my first kind of gut instinct right here. I had her down over here too, and I thought that looked okay, but I thought it looked better having her a little bit kind of more towards the in this lighting in here. So I need to warm her up a little bit too with whatever, but I also need to put a little bit of this texturing in here so that she's sitting in the scene a little bit more. So let's see here. I think this is the first time I've used glue like on a something other than crystals. This is the other figure that I was considering using in here, but I wanted this like gazing figure in the light. I thought it looked dreamier. All right, I'm gonna have her kind of angled up slightly too, like that. Let's see, maybe like that. All right. So I want to create a little bit of shadow behind her too, if I can. I'm not sure what color to use though. I was thinking about that gray that I've been using. Okay. That night kiting though sounds pretty cool, Froggy Fresh. It seems like for us, though, I don't know, the wind always dies down at night, so I don't know if I'd be able to do that around here. What I used to do with my kid and like the scout troop or something like that, we'd get those LED style frisbees, and I would take them out night frisbee golfing. So I'd get those clear plastic totes, you know, and if I put like a headlamp in it, it illuminates the tote, you know, and we just go to the local park and create a, I don't know, whatever, like a 8-hole, you know, frisbee golf course. And, you know, that was pretty fun. That night kite flying reminded me of night frisbee activities. Okay, I'm just putting her into a little bit of shadow here. It's just real subtle though. Okay, like that. I'm toning out some of the things around her, but that's all right. And it's not real dark. I'll move into darker tones here in a second. But I want to build up to it so I don't ruin my piece with like the like the last thing that I go, you know, add in there. If I did, I would just, you know, you just do another figure or something like that and remove her. But I always say it's always kind of better to take things kind of like nice and, you know, incrementally, you know, so you have a lot of control over it rather than just, you know what I mean? There's less kind of repair work you need to do when moving kind of real methodically. All right. Let's see. Well, let me use this pen right here. Biting on wax worms. Make a black and white one with only the kite colored. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I love, in photography, I think they call that one spot coloring or something like that. And I always like that look. All right, just add in a little bit of highlighting around there. Try to zoom in if I can here. And we'll have her sitting amongst the, oh, that shimmering foliage or, you know, grasses. Okay, and let's let me see if I can get a little bit of texturing into her form via highlighting here. You need a strong, yeah. The kind that comes before a storm. You don't have like a key or something like metal that's going up on that kite, right? Is that what, okay, trying to add a little bit of highlighting into her dress here. She, the figure, I mean, this is, I know I'm doing like really, really subtle work here, but the form here, you know, looking at her right here, she wasn't quite integrated into the scene because everything else is kind of rendered, you know, with a lot of lights and darks in here. Even the dark forms like that has that little band of light. So you need to do those types of things. See, I'm kind of bringing at her knee a little bit more and some of these folds within her kind of drapery. All right, let me see if how close I can get in there without going completely out of focus. So I'm just kind of going, like in her dress, there's these little highlights in there. Some of them are very, very subtle. But if we can kind of bring that out a little bit, and this is an old engraving, so I'm kind of going with the, you know, the folds in here in the direction that that the design is in. So see that like that. So see those little things like that. It starts incorporating her more into the piece because, you know, she's being affected by the same lighting in here. So the trees are kind of illuminated on that side. So you need to do that with the, you know, with the figures, or I don't know, whatever, all objects in there. It could be a rock, but especially if it's kind of your focal point figure, you want to have them kind of, you know, rendered, you know, accordingly. So in here, it's just, I had kind of darker violet tones kind of coloring her. So now I'm just, you know, using this, I don't know, whatever, slightly light violet right here. Like that, okay. So she sends out a little bit more. And let's go to pink, you know, like pink would be like the lighter version of that violet right there. Although it almost looks like I used white on there, but I didn't. Just the glow stick. It sounds pretty cool. My brother, at one point in time, I don't know, we got those gigantic dragon kites. And we used to use like one of my dad's like fishing poles, you know, this rod and reel, so that we can I don't know how high those things got. Sometimes it was like a I don't know, like 1,000 feet or something like that, and there was this big shiny kind of what was that silvery material, but sometimes people would like drive around looking to see who was flying that. Some people would say, hey, you know, I was driving around the freeway, you know, or up on the highway, and they saw it up there, and they came driving around in the neighborhood looking for you know, whatever, the recipients, which is kind of cool. All right, so okay, so she looks a lot better in there. But the thing is, though, she's not really that integrated, though. I think I need to use, see, I used some of that pink in here. I think I need some of that pink and violet in this terrain a little bit, you know? I'll put some pinks and violets amongst the, you know, this foliage in here, just to kind of mask it a little bit, where it's not super obvious, but it'll just get some of that tone in here, just so that she's not the only kind of violet, you know, whatever, entity or color in this space. I did put those violets down in here, but I don't know, maybe I need to bring in more of it now. Here's some pink up in the trees. And I know you guys can't see this, but it needs to be done. Here's a little pink in the green here too. Not that this is spring or something like this, but it's just kind of a little bit of a subtle integration. Here, let me try something else here too. Let me go with, let's do, where did it go? See this kind of violet right here? It's like this color. It's kind of like, you know, that color, that dress a little bit more, like that, right? It's a darker version, so I'll just use a little bit more. I used some of this in this piece the other day, but let's just go a little bit more and make it a little bit more extreme. It's kind of extreme in a subtle way, if that can be, you know, done. So I'm just kind of adding it into the shadow areas. So instead of it being like a, you know, a little bit of a darker black shadow, it's just a little bit more of like a violet dark shadow, and it's over the top of browns and stuff like that too. So it's never going to look violety. But see that, like, the coloring in there, it's a little bit more, you know, it's a little bit closer to that tone that she is. Let's add it to the shadows right in here too. See some of these areas like this. We want our figure to be kind of one with the area. All right, so I don't know. Can you see that right there? You know, those little bit of violet tinges kind of within the, you know, the trees. Let's use a little bit down in her around her shadow too. Yeah, all right, that's a little bit too much. I need to blend it in. Let's see. Let's go back to that gray. I'll blend it in with that gray. Okay, and let's see. I remember I used to see those kite, like, festivals. Like those kite flying at the beaches. It seemed like it all became about those, like, stunt kites at some point in time, huh? Like in the, I don't know, it was like the 80s or 90s. Everyone was doing those, like, really controlled stunt kites and such, which were really cool. I used to surf, so the thing that looks really cool to me these days is kite surfing, as opposed to like windsurfing. It's like they have this kite. It's like pulling them around. They're doing all kinds of, like, awesome, amazing, like, jumps and stuff like that. Or I think they're on these hydrofoils too, with this kite that they're just, like, holding in their hand, and they can do all kinds of things. Like even on days like, you know, where there's no waves too. All right, so I'm adding some of this purple tinges into my rocks. I don't know if you can see it right in here. These areas right here, they get a little bit more purple-ish, like right in here, okay? But see how it kind of relates to that figure a little bit more? Is it like, I feel like she's sitting in the scene more now with this. I'm gonna blend this out, and then I think we'll just about be done here. Alright. I think that should almost do it here. My rocks, everything, a lot of things took on a purple turn here. Let's see. Let me get one of these skin-toned alcohol pens to blend in that violet. I tell you, this piece of paper just does not feel like a piece of paper to me. I mean, it didn't like 2 days ago with all the media that's been applied in here, but it's at this point in time, it's really, really saturated with, you know, dye-based inks, alcohol inks. We have the paint on top of it. It just, from a textural standpoint, it doesn't feel like a piece of you know, semi-gloss cardstock anymore. You know, it's heavier. All right, so that is there. All right, can you see that purplish tinge now? Especially like around in here. So she's not like the only kind of violet thing in here anymore, which helped out. This one. You match your outfits to the woods where you wander. Sounds good, Candy. What if you go like to if you went out to like sand dunes? You wear like a beige, you know, shawl or something like that. All right. So question, does anyone have what would be this woman's name here that's in this setting? Anyone have a good name for her? Let me put a little bit of highlighting on her too, you know. I'm not going to do too much. Maybe that's a little bit too much, that white like that. You wouldn't see like too many like super reflective things like from such a distance like that, but I do want to get her a little bit more kind of rendered, I guess, because like I said, that's kind of our focal point. So you know, we want her to be, you know, pretty well rendered here. I'll just put a couple little highlights on certain areas. Put it around her thumb. I'm putting some of this little beige on her dress too. It's just a little bit of a warmer highlight. Like that. Violet. Elena. Ophelia. When I was doing this, Linda, I was thinking Ophelia. But then she'd be in like in the water, like rising from the water though and dead. But that's exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking about Ophelia. I've done an Ophelia before. I used a figure. I think she was standing up, but then I had her kind of like in the water instead, um, as a scene. I know that Violet though. That's pretty good. Elena, Ophelia, Vivian. Those are all pretty good names. There's oh, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I'm gonna have to leave it up to you guys. Margaret. Fallen Leaves, after one of my favorite Native American stories. Oh, Fallen Leaves, that would be her name, huh? That'd be cool. Hmm. I don't know, those ones are good. I don't know, is any the suggestions sound good to anyone else? Or everyone's like standing on the by their own name. Um, I don't know. I think that the name of the person could be a good name for this whole piece right here. What do you think? As opposed to like I don't know, whatever, autumn, autumn amongst the you know the towers, or something like columns, um, whatever, shimmering. I don't know. I use that. I think a name of the woman would be a cool title for this piece. So I don't know, Ophelia or Fallen Leaves. Hmm. Yeah, either one. What do you guys think? All right, so that's the piece right there. This is going pretty. Wait. I forgot. I was going to put a little bit of this white pigment ink on her too. I think that'll really integrate her a little bit more. If I can get it over. Remember, she is kind of raised, so I'm not sure how this is going to look. Let me see. Let me try a little bit around her feet, I think. I'm going to try to really narrow this down a little bit, like this. Autumn Leaves is the name of that song, too, that famous song. Oh, I know. I'm going to put this coming from both sides like this. So a little bit at the base, but then I'll put some lighting on her like this. Maybe it's good that she's raised a little bit because I'm able to avoid some of that area in the back. Or am I? Maybe not. All right, let's see how that looks there. Does that look a little bit different to you? I think it's put her in a little bit of that texture to get her to sit in the scene a little bit more. It's hard to do it continuously because she's like a raised thing, so I'm tapping down like this and it's applying differently to both sides. Let's go a little bit more like that. All right. There, I think. I can keep working. I could probably do like 2 more, parts to this and do like these little tiny tweaks. I'm not going to do that, but you know, the more you look at this piece, there's a lot of things to look at, you know, across this. So it's hard for me to kind of think about some type, you know, some of the refinements because, you know, when you're looking at, you know, like even like a half page card, it's like this big, you know, so it's everything is within this space, but it's like, you know, this is like a panning type of exercise here, looking across this whole thing like that. So, um, yeah, let's see here. I'm putting a little bit more lighting right here. Okay, so I've X'd out the idea of the, you know, the light beams in here. I think it would, I don't know, it would add some movement to this, but I don't think I necessarily want that. If I had light beams kind of coming across here like that, then the viewer's attention would go from there to there, and then they would circle back like that. I'd rather have that, you know, the center of attention like right in here, like a stage or something like that, and that's where, you know, whatever the star is, the star of the, you know, the production is. Although the beams would be pretty cool, though, I think. It'd add more drama to it. Or I can have the beams like coming across, you know, like around her. A lot of times I do that though. If a scene really kind of needs it, it needs like some sort of dynamic, you know, kind of element. And this one, I think, I don't know, I think it's fine on its own. After all, it does have the three fish down here too. The Find Waldo part of the scene. All right. Angle this up. It's so glary with all that media on there. I don't have room on my desk here. All right, let me try to get this glare out of there. So can't get the glare off. There you go. That. Oh, there we go. There's the angle right there. All right, so folks, I don't know, maybe the most, I don't know, that Alluring Acadia I used a lot on that too, but I didn't use nearly the amount of alcohol ink on, I think, past scenes as this one right here, and I think the semi-gloss was a good way to go because it absorbed enough into the surface to where I can keep adding to it, I think. I'm just trying to think if it looks visually deeper in areas than in the past. I think the trees for sure look a lot richer and deeper. I'm not sure if, you know, like in the grass and the rocks and things like that and the water, I've done anything different on this one than I've done in the past, or better, you know, or more extreme looking at it. But I'll give it one last sealant here, which will integrate things a little bit more. And I don't know, it was really fun. I think I've mentioned this in the past, like on the Facebook group, when people were doing like the larger pieces. I need to work larger, you know, once in a while, or a little bit more than I have in the past, which isn't really saying very much because I've hardly ever done it, you know. But I don't know. It's just kind of it's a little bit of a different feeling working, you know, this big, you know, just from the sheer amount of stuff that's going on across there, like that. But it doesn't have to be too, you know, super complex a composition or anything like that, involving like different stamps. Like I said, you can, you know, if I, you know, wanted to, I could have just used one tree trunk, and, you know, this larger one could have been used in the background to it, which would just kind of shortened the amount of visual distance in there just slightly. But, you know, I think it would have been fine. Or you could, you know, I could have used just this portion and up, you know, to create, you know, a slightly smaller looking tree, as opposed to just using this base of it, you know, in the background like that. So I don't know, fun stuff. We'll have to think about that that tree struck by lightning in there, Froggy Fresh. I think that sounds pretty cool in terms of a theme. We'll do this whole composition. And, you know, we'll have this, you know, this reddish tinge in here, you know, where it's, you know, I don't know, whatever, like a forest fire at night or something like that with, you know, these, and instead of fall foliage in here shimmering in the sunlight, it's, you know, like embers in there, and like embers falling on the the water's surface in there. And we'll put the, you know, we'll put that dragon in the sky like you wanted or something like that, you know. Maybe, you know, you'd have like, you know, fire coming out of the mouth or something like that. Fallen leaves. Oh, I was thinking of autumn. Yeah, fallen leaves. That sounds pretty good in here. Killed in battle. She sat down at the base of a tree and starved herself to this. That's Ophelia? I forgot the story of it, but there's always those images where, like, she's in the water. Are you talking about fallen leaves? Is that the fallen leaves story behind her? Not really. A lot of the Native American legends put a lot of emphasis on the afterlife. I go hiking to this place called Suicide Rock, and it was one of those Romeo and Juliet things, you know, of Native Americans. I don't know. It was a forbidden love or something like that, and they jumped off this one rock. You know, that's why they call it Suicide Rock. You know, so another one. You know, kind of stories like that. I didn't hear about the afterlife part of it though, but I don't know. That's just one place that I go to close by. Not real close by. That's like an hour and a half away. But anyway. All right, folks. That is the piece. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for jumping in on these live streams, too. It was great having some company in this really long piece to do. It kept me more interested. Not that I'd get bored doing something like this, but that was a lot of area to cover in here. So it was kind of nice chatting about whatever, this and that, you know, during the whole process, you know, when like Jeannie, it's like, what did you eat on the cruise tonight? And dragons, right? Froggy Fresh. All right, folks, thanks so much. And Fallen Leaves, I think that's a pretty good one here. All right, everyone, have a great rest of evening, and hope to see you on the next live stream when we do a 30 by 40 inch piece. No, the next two pieces are probably going to be like inchies, you know, the 1 by 1 inch piece. But I do want to do something with this. I'm going to do a like a quick scene version of it, and I'll incorporate maybe the figure in there or something like that. But you know, even like a little scene like this. Right here, rocks, tree, you know, little thing up there, and like perfect for a little quote or something like that. I think would be really fun. But we'll see what we can do with that in like a maybe a, I don't know, whatever 20-minute version of this scene. It should be really fun. You can have a dragon setting a tree on fire. Sounds pretty good. We can use the lightning stamp coming out of a, you know, like a dragon or something like that, and I don't know, striking a tree. Thanks, everyone.